I'm really excited to announce the CTO of Bühler, Ian. Please come up here. Big round of applause, guys. Here you go. Thank you.
Goodness gracious. So, good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here, and it's always a delight to walk on stage inspired by the previous speaker, isn't it? So, it's quite a tough act to follow. So, we're going to take a trip across the Atlantic. It's going to be the other English now. So, it's British English, so retune. And I'm going to talk to you about a completely different company in the journey that we're on. So, it's a traditional company, 157 years old, that makes machines. So what are we doing here at a digital festival? And the conundrum that every big company faces now with traditional industry is what's in digital for us, but more importantly, what's in it for our customers, and how is this creating a new competitive set for us? So I'm going to go through a little bit the journey we're on and tell you what we're doing. Doesn't mean it's right. It may not all be wrong. But I hope it's interesting. Now, the first thing I have a disadvantage versus Logitech is none of you have a clue what we do, right? We're a local company just down the road, but you don't know what we do. So to give you a little bit of a feeling and build on what Lucas said, in the morning, if your phone wakes you up, the color filters on the touch screen were ground on our technology. The camera, the optical films were coated on our technology. The electrical parts were ground on our technology. If you're hungry and you have breakfast and you have a cereal that doesn't look as it did in the field, okay? If it's round or flaked or popped, it's gone through our technology. Conditioning, extrusion, drying. Every morning I like to look the best for my team. So when I put my lipstick on, my bright red lipstick, I'm always proud and reassured that the inks and the colorants are ground on Bühler lines, as well as high security inks, as well as the material in the chairs. If it has a colorant, it's probably come off our technology. If you have a pet, it's nice to feed the pet before you leave the house. Dry pet food, very similar to breakfast cereals, never to be confused. Technology route is pretty much the same. In the morning, coffee, ground, roasted, conveyed on Bühler technology. You get to lunchtime, more than half of the world's wheat is turned into flour on Bühler technology. It's stored post-harvest. It's cleaned, it's graded, it's sorted. The ship loaders in the ports, the ship unloaders in the ports, the storage, the flour mills, the pasta plants, the snacks. For those of you that read the press this week, now the biscuits. We made for us, a major acquisition we announced earlier this week. So that value chain coverage is extraordinary. 30% of the world's rice, exactly the same. About the same in terms of corn and maize. So technology that is used to produce these products, not producing the products ourselves. Okay? We don't process wheat. We provide the technology to process wheat, the mills. After lunch, you want a chocolate factory? You buy bricks and a packaging machine. Everything else comes from us. 2/3 of the world's chocolate comes off. Okay, so extraordinary company. Pasta, we talked about cars. Aluminium, magnesium engine blocks come off Bühler die casting lines. As we go to autonomous driving, the sensors, the optics are coated on our technology. We're the only company in the world that has continuous lithium-ion battery production capability in industry running today. This makes us kind of popular. And at the end of the day, if you've avoided our products, 3 out of 4 beers come off a malting plant from us. Okay? So it's an extraordinary penetration into society for a company that you've absolutely never heard of. Now, it's a 157-year-old company, 2.5 billion turnover, from a little village called Uzwil. The family is still there. We're still 100% family-owned, 5th generation of the family. But it's a truly global company, serving the world's biggest companies. What's nice about a family company? The time scale. Families think for the next generation. Every decision we take is on behalf of our children and our grandchildren. The sustainability targets of a family company are what a family does. They're the values that you want to raise your family by. On the other hand, we have a fully professional board with full transparency on financial reporting, all the compliance issues, sustainability issues. So it's a perfect combination. And when you're the CTO, the family sets one rule that I love. We will be the technology leaders. We'll invest 5% of turnover into innovation. CTO makes me very happy. Then this happened, okay? One of the promises I made when I moved to Bühler 6 years ago is disruptive technology would be in our hands. Now, you've seen the breadth of the portfolio, so it was a dumb promise to make, and I hadn't quite foreseen how important digital would be. So this was a major disruption for us, and we see this so-called fourth industrial revolution. The question we asked ourselves is, why? My objective is not to be digital. My objective is to use digital to solve major problems. What is the purpose? And what is our role that we play in the world that digital will enable us to do faster, more efficiently, more effectively, and with greater impact? That's the game we play. I don't need more apps. I need more impact. So we said, how do we tackle this? We'll do it like we always do. We invited our customers to come to Utzwil. 600 customers came to Utzwil. I mean, that itself is incredible, isn't it? I mean, the center of the universe up the road. So 600 customers came. Now, to give you a feeling of scale, those 600 people in that room feed 4 billion people a day. Okay? More than half the world's population. That's scale. That's leverage. We brought them together and we said, the issues on nutrition, the obesity, the malnutrition, food scarcity, availability, 800 million people going to bed, or not going to bed, 800 million starving. We talk about food safety and the outbreaks. We talk about sustainability. We talk about climate change. And then we talked about the role of digital to enable us as an industry to tackle these problems. And we went into breakout groups. We made strategic decisions. We made agreements. And we centered these agreements around basically, let's see if this works, one slide with one message. This was for the food side. We said 24% of the world's greenhouse gases are generated through agriculture. 69% of the world's water is used in agriculture. 1/3 of the world's energy goes into food production, and 1/3 of the world's food is lost or wasted. 8% of greenhouse gases to create waste. 23% of the world's water to create waste. 10% of the world's energy utilization to create waste. How on earth does that make sense? How does it make sense? And that's the same in every country. We're all complicit. So we said, what's our target? We're going to reduce, with our customers, energy consumption and waste by 30% in our customers' value chains. We have to do it in our manufacturing. But if I make a machine with 30% less energy, or I make a machine that consumes 30% less energy 24/7, 365 days of the year for 25 years, that is a different impact. And there you have a genuine impact on climate change. So that's what we decided to do. Easier said than done, I promise you. But we agreed we would do it. So the first thing we said is, you don't do this alone. Not only is this massive collaboration with customers important, you have to dig into the deep knowledge, the extraordinary capabilities of your supply chain, and you have to work as partners with your suppliers. You have to build your academic networks. You have to tap into the knowledge outside your company. No company is big enough or stupid enough to imagine they can tackle this alone. So we founded the World Food Systems Center. This is nearly 10 years ago we took this decision. 35 professors working on food value chain resilience. We founded the same thing in the EPFL. And in fact, I was going to ask Bracken, does he know how much he helped me? Because when I wanted to build an office on EPFL for our traditional company, where we are very Swiss German, I mean, I could have asked them, could we put an office on Mars? So I took the executive board down to Lausanne, and it's cool, and this is phenomenal entrepreneurial campus, etc. And they met some professors, and they weren't convinced, so I took them into Logitech, and the Logitech showed them what they do on campus. And our guys walked out, and they said, Ian, for God's sake, put an office here. It's such a cool campus, we have to be in this ecosystem. So I owe him a word of thanks. We've just joined the Swiss Data Science Initiative. We're the first partner for that. This gives us access to data scientists and analytics. We decided to fundamentally change the culture of our company for innovation. We do bottom-up innovation. Half our employees engage in this. And at Interpack, the biggest machine show in Europe this year, the 3 biggest innovations we presented that blew our customers away came from this bottom-up competition. But then we realized you do this cool stuff inside your company, and they have an idea, and then boom, you get stuck. You're in a traditional R&D process, and it's like walking through quicksand. So we said, what do we do with these guys? So we went to the US, we went to Boston, we met some guys called Mass Challenge, world's biggest startup accelerator. 128 startups for 4 months in one space in Boston. The whole ecosystem comes in and helps them and accelerates them. 12 months for startups' life in 4 months. They take no equity. There is no obligation of the startups. It's an NGO. We loved it. We put a team in, and they flew. They created a first business model, first service, commercialized it, and executed it in 4 months. We sell machines. They sold a service in 4 months. So we said, this is so cool. So I called a few of my friends when we came back, because corporates can be quick. I called Nestlé, very fast company, you all know. Givaudan, Barry Callebaut, Gaia, Swiss Economic Forum, and Artist Foundation. We met in a bar. We had a glass of wine, and we said, should we bring these guys in? If we took 20% of the American can-do attitude, if we took 20% of their ambition, their energy, their acceptance of risk, and we married this to the robust engineering skills in Europe and tried to cancel out our terrible fear of failure, and we brought this together into Switzerland, what could we do? What would you unlock in economic growth, in employment, in opportunities for young people and old people? It's pretty cool. So we had a glass of wine, we agreed we'd do it. 2 weeks later, we announced it in the national press. Not popularly greeted in all areas. Then, 6 weeks later, we did a kickoff in Geneva. 550 people turned up, we had 300 chairs. 6 weeks after that, we had 450 startups that applied from around the world. 2 months later, we had 70 startups starting a 4-month program in the accelerator in Lausanne. They got 14 million of funding during the period, just during the 4 months. 6 of them founded in Switzerland. They sold 30 contracts. We've now got 75 down there this year. It's a cool program. We learn the culture of innovation and startups. We coach startups. We support them. We learn more than they get, I'm sure. But they are also successful. So that's cool. The problem we have is, and this is also why the startup world is very important, is the fundamental issue around digital has nothing to do with technology. Nada. I mean, if I just take the people in this room, we'll solve every technological problem that we come across. We might not do it in the most cost-effective way, but we will do it and we will learn. Problem is, how do you go to market in a fundamental change of your traditional business model? You go from capital goods to selling services. It's a very easy transaction if I sell you 2 tons of metal that processes food for you or battery slurries for the next 10 years. You give me money, it all seems quite fair and easy. If I come to you and say, I'm selling you the capability to do something, it's not very tangible anymore. So you have to change your business model. You need these accelerators, incubators in which to develop new business models as well for your corporates and your corporate teams. Then you have this whole thing about speed. If I put a machine into a market that doesn't work, that's a team of 20 people for 5 years fixing it in the market, and that's my brand trashed. Very expensive. Software doesn't matter. You need to be fast. You develop it with your customers. You develop it in partnership. It's a completely different model, and you have to have this ambidextrous leadership skills within a company to manage this. Physical, virtual, I mentioned. Scale is completely different in the online world than we have in the physical goods world. We have to test fast, and we have to collaborate. So it's a whole new learning. If we hadn't gone through this learning within our company of collaboration and broken silos, we would never be able to attack the digital challenge effectively. So we look at what our values are and what do we bring. We have 150 years of processing experience and knowledge. We build up data analytics capability. We understand the quality parameters that make our customers more successful on their lines. It's not just about does the machine work, is, does the machine enable the customer to deliver the quality that allows them to be more successful as businessmen? And we have something else. If you look at the world, we have over 100 service stations around the world. Because one of the things we learned, we built this digital interface in our internal innovation competition. It's now the single digital interface for our company, onboarding more than 200 customers every single month to move all their transactions to us on spare parts, wear parts, basic service requirements into an e-commerce relationship. But so what if you can't deliver the physical goods? I mean, would Amazon work if I clicked, took me 2 minutes to order something, maybe 10 seconds to order something, and then I waited 5 months for it? So you cannot run this kind of thing as a software company. You have to have the physical partnership to deliver the physical good. And this network is very valuable, and that combination is, we believe, is what makes us strong. Now, like all good companies, we kind of built a strategy. I'll show you this one slide, and then we won't talk about strategies anymore. And we said, look, it's clear we need basic sensors. We need useful data. Not just any data. We need useful data. We need robust data, data we can rely on, because our customers will take major decisions based on this information. We need a standardized automation pyramid. If we don't have standardized automation, how on earth do we scale anything across all our businesses? That's an internal dilemma. We fixed that. We move into the Internet of Things. We need standard data collection, standard gateways, connectors. We need to have a standard platform to put services on that our customers can interface to. We need to build up data analytics competence. We didn't desperately need data scientists previously when we built machines. This is a new competence that we build up in the company, and we have to crack the business models. And when I talk about sensors, this isn't, does the machine shake? Is the drive getting hot? Is the motor switched on? That's standard. You have that in basic automation systems. Is the product quality good? Is the product safe? Does it contain high levels of mycotoxins before it gets into the food system? These are the questions you have to ask. The big ones, and you have to understand the product quality. Now, this machine up here at the top is a sorting machine. So we've been making these for 20, 30 years now. What do? 300,000 grains of rice per second. Okay? Think about it. It's a lot of rice. Imaged on 360 degrees of the surface. The visual images analyzed and the defective grains ejected 30 centimeters later. Okay? That's what we call optical sorting. That's the kind of data access we have. And these machines, for the last 10 years, 13 years I think it is, have remote access on them. And we service them remotely, and we set them up remotely, and we have this data. So it's not, we thought we knew nothing about digital. We made a few discoveries that actually some of the stuff we did was quite good. It was a bit of a shock for us. So we decided that we could legitimately rebrand ourselves as a company doing a little bit in the IoT digital space. The others are around optimization of process. So we have a big partnership with Bosch. Bosch makes a few more MEMS sensors than we do. So we thought we'd tap into their knowledge and we'd partner with them rather than try and reinvent something that obviously someone else does much better. We built a global partnership with a small software company. I'm not here to advertise Microsoft. Whoever you choose, you're going to have problems. But the global companies at least give us an opportunity to standardize around the world. So there's no right or wrong in this. There's just be committed and do it. I don't see any other way around it. I don't think there's a good choice or a bad choice, but there is definitely a bad form of execution. So we're doing quite well. We've built that up. We built up our data analytics. I gave the nod to Logitech earlier for helping us. Because we had an office on the campus in EPFL, we could hire data scientists. Because, you know, data scientist generally is looking at the big word beginning with G, the Google word if they want a job. They're not necessarily going, do you know, I'll look for a company that makes machines for the food industry. That's where I want my career. But if you can have the data scientists on campus, they can still buy the same coffee, they can still live their student life, but they come to work every day. We found it's very attractive. So that works very well for us. In addition, we have a lot of partners supporting us, and we're building up capabilities. And as I say, we're the first partner of the Swiss Data Science Center. Now, 13 years ago, with all these optical sorters, we could support setup, we could troubleshoot, we could tell them which parts we're going to wear, when did they have to change them. Now, we can make really pretty dashboards as well. So we can do all the same stuff in a cooler way, it's more accessible, and of course behind it we have the data to do analysis, to do benchmarking, and to create services. And of course this is what we do for our customers, is to support them, because the product quality helps them in their procurement decisions, and it helps them in their selling decisions, and it helps them optimize their processing and fit their process parameters to the quality of product that they've procured. Every mill now, as a mill owner, you can have it on your iPad, whatever your chosen tablet is, and you can see it. But you can see what's working. You can see what needs changing. You can see what the maintenance guys need to look at next. We can run the analytics to tell them how to optimize so that they can get that 1% more profit, which makes a big difference in a low-profit industry. And we can help them benchmark and adopt best practices. This helps us grow our core business, and it's a service to our customers. Our mission as a company is to engineer customer success. It's not an altruistic mission. Successful customers buy more. So we've got customers that have been our customers for 4 generations of their families. That's about engineering customer success. We create different things as well. This is nice. This is a box. Has a presentation tray. You put rice in the tray. We have a very nice smartphone app that does a quality analysis on the rice. So if you're buying rice as a trader, you aren't able, everywhere that you need to buy rice, to do an analysis. This we can do, send it up, we give you an analysis, we give you the results back, and we tell you should you buy, should you not buy, and what is the quality analysis. So now we start selling these. These are almost consumer products. We're a machine builder. So it's a hell of a journey. I told you about what we did in the US. We took this cool team of ours who came up with an idea, and we sent them to Mass Challenge, and we put them there for 4 months and said, you're on your own, but form a business. They wanted to do food safety validation. Now, what you don't do as any responsible company is guarantee anything in the US. It's the most litigious marketplace on earth. The risk is appalling. So we said, yeah, all right, go to America, find out how to do it. They went in 4 months in an accelerator. I mean, this is incredible. First of all, for a corporate team, the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks are learning not to be corporate. It's a very tough induction into an accelerator world and startup world. So they do that. Then they got some kids from the local university to get all the microbiological kill data. They found some guys in the accelerator who helped them with a bit of software programming and built up the first prototype. They built a sensor package. Our local business helped them a bit with customers. Their advisors were all non-Bühler. They just went into the ecosystem. They helped each other out. The lawyers came in and they built the contracts and they built the promise such that they were safe in the US. Within 4 months, they went to customer. They launched a subscription business model on food safety validation. FDA admissible data. That means if something goes wrong on your line, you've got the data to not go to prison as a factory manager. And we found, we were talking about food safety, we realized that keeping people out of prison was quite a compelling sell. So that's what we did. It didn't work at all, all right? I have to tell you, it sounds brilliant, doesn't it? But it absolutely didn't work in the first 4 months. It took us 12 months to make a more robust product, but now it's a standard sale, and we sell these around the world. It's a very cool way of building a new business model. And it's not just on the cool new stuff, because your core business can be supported as well by digital. So if we look at what we do, chocolate making, I told you, all the chocolate you eat's probably touched the Bühler technology. When you make chocolate, at least for Switzerland, first of all, you refine it, you get it under 100 microns. This would be inedible, okay? It would be like eating sand. You then put it into a 5-roll refiner, you take it down here to about 20 micron, 35 microns you can feel on your palate. If you're sensitive, all right? 20 microns, it's creamy, it's smooth, it's good Swiss chocolate. Then You mix it in a conch, and you mix it to take off all the acid volatile flavors that you don't like in your chocolate, and you create that caramelic note that you do like, and you liquefy it, and then you go and make chocolate bars with it. We've automated this. So we can get a feedback from any of these machines to reset what comes out of the previous one, and a feed forward to reset the conditions in the next one to guarantee constant quality. And this is through quality measurement, this is through efficiency measurement, and this, of course, is through some quite smart analytics to run this. So that helps our core business grow, it helps our customers be more successful. Maybe the last example, which is really an unusual one. So this traditional metal building company builds analytics for social media. Obvious, isn't it? You're probably going, geez, they've gone mad. They got carried away. No, it is obvious. Do you know why? Because when a government issues a food safety alert, I can pick it up on social media weeks before. I can go to my customers and say, hey, there's problems. Check all your supply chains. Check your processes. We can give them a heads up. We can support them to be sure that they are successful in their business. This is really cool. This doesn't, I mean, if you go to a Nestle, they can do all this in their sleep, but most of our companies cannot do this. So it's a fantastic service that we offer them. And it's relevant to our business, but our customers really appreciate it. And this is about building their success. Very focused on that. So where are we on our digital journey? I think we woke up, and I tell you, we made a mistake. We lit a fire under our organization. We're a company that experiments. And I'm kind of like the chief experimenter. I'm paid to fail. So it's quite good fun. So we lit a fire under the organization. We built this central platform. We got all the business areas, and we said, guys, you're going to build services. IoT-enabled services. And they all looked at us and went, yeah, right. And in 12 months, every business unit had a service offering portfolio that didn't exist 12 months before. I'm not saying it's all good. They created their services faster than we could create the platform, which is extraordinary. So the company pulls internally. We didn't have to go and start a company outside. We might still, but we didn't have to change the company in terms of digital. So that's good. Everyone's active. We've got business areas building whole dedicated pilot plants just to build IoT services, predictive maintenance, all this kind of stuff off them, and do analytics. We have a single IoT platform across the company which allows us to aggregate data and create the high level of services afterwards. If you don't have that, it's very difficult to see where you move to next. I think we're almost at 10 new commercial services launched this year, versus 0 for the last 157, okay? That's a hell of a step. We're generating turnover. Now the thing is, how do we scale and multiply across all our company, across the whole world? That's the target we face at the moment. And that's what we're busily doing with lots of partners and lots of people who have cool ideas. I just want to be clear, that's not the only thing we do. So digital is very important. We have very clear turnover targets. We run it as a business, and we're driving it in the company. This year, we did something else really cool. If we're going to feed 9 billion people in 2050, we have to produce 265 million tons more protein per year if we consume protein at the rate that we're going today. We're not doing this from livestock, my friends. That is not going to work. It is not sustainable today, and it will certainly not provide for another 1.5 billion people. We can forget it. The pressure on the agricultural system is too high. We're taking wild catch out of the sea to feed, to make fish. We catch 8 kilos of fish to make a kilo of fish. Can anyone give me some logical explanation behind that? Makes no sense. So we said, what do? We looked at all the alternatives. We're the leaders in plant protein processing to make things like textured vegetable proteins, so meat extenders, meat replacers. And we said, we think insects is next. And we found this brilliant startup. The world of serendipity is beautiful. I sat at the World Economic Forum. We were looking at in a session on ocean plastics. It was not the level that we were expecting. And the Dutch guy next to me and I went, oh, come on, we go for coffee. And we went out, and it turned out he's the best insect producer in the world. He has his startup. They're making a couple of 1,000 tons a year. We sat down at a table and literally, honestly, on a napkin, drew the joint venture between our companies. And 2 years later, we formed it, we launched it. We're now building the first insect processing plants on full industrial scale that would be food grade, but we are selling for fish food, aquaculture, and poultry. And we're convinced that that is the most sustainable protein source we have at the moment, because you take organic waste, you recover 70% of the nutrients, you put it into protein with a very good conversion rate into animals, and then we have a much more sustainable feed value chain. So that's cool, we're doing that. E-mobility, we took technology from food, we started making battery slurries. You take out the inconsistency batch to batch in battery production. You know, one of the issues you have is you mix a slurry, you make your batteries, and I can tell you 400 meters later at the end of the line you have a battery. And then you go into quality testing and you find out if you mix the slurry well. And if you didn't, you throw it away. And you've got scrap rates in the 20% plus. That doesn't make it very economical to make batteries for electric cars. Our technology, we've also increased the energy density significantly with the same formula, which means the range goes up, the quality goes up. So we're very popular. To give you a feeling, in the US, the aspiration for electric vehicles is to build the gigafactory, isn't it? Our friend at Tesla talks about building the gigafactory. In China, the gigafactory is the unit of measurement, not the aspiration. And in Europe, we're a long way behind. So, 3 cool things that we're doing. Now, the question that preoccupies me, because I said this is all about why, this is all about sense of purpose. The utilization of technologies and capabilities is about what do you want to solve? And the question that we always say is, how do I feed 9 billion people in 2050? And the question I always get is, can we? Will we? Is it sustainable? Is it worth having children? But you see, as a CTO, your job is to be optimistic. So I would say yes, 100% yes, but we're going to have an adoption of new technologies in a smart and focused way. That's where the digital part comes in. We need new business models, because it doesn't work the way that we look at value chains today, the way that we set up contracts, the way that we protect our self-interests and we optimize our self-interests to basically to a negative impact on the rest of the value chain. That doesn't work. So you have to look at business models that allow you to optimize systems and have a genuine win-win. You have to be more entrepreneurial. We have to unlock the entrepreneurial ecosystem and value, not just in companies, but across countries. And just a note there for that, competition is tremendously important. Because of the 70 startups that we have in our accelerator, I hope that we will help some of them reach the decision that they should probably not start companies and run them. Because not everyone is an entrepreneur. It's okay to kill a company. We have to learn to experiment, and failure is okay. So entrepreneurship is very important. And this massive new type of collaboration is the only way that we have a chance of solving and tackling some of these problems. So that's what we're trying to do. I hope some of it was interesting. And I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for the presentation. We have time for a couple of questions before we go for insect snacks. So
yep.
I want to open up the platform for some questions, because Bühler, how many of you guys knew what Bühler did before you walked in here today? Okay, that's a lot.
That's more than usual.
That's the Swiss pride, I guess, that really comes out there. You know, actually, one of the things that I liked a lot is the processing of these different things. Like, we never think about how these things come from. Somebody in the audience today posted about unicorn Fruit Loops. And I thought about like the processing steps that goes behind that to produce a product like that. It's just incredible to see how far back the chain, value chain goes that we never see as consumers. Perfect. I'd like to open up the round for questions. So who would like to ask the first question? Perfect. The cube's right in front of you, so that's you got that first question.
Ian, I wonder how you went about the cultural transformation from a Swiss typical engineering company to something which is network connected to the world and truly innovative.
Well, yes, that might require a longer answer, but I mean, basically, I was hired into the company 6 years ago, and my mission was threefold. The first one was turn R&D into business generation. The second one was to ensure that disruptive technologies that were threatening to us or opportunities we had access to. And the third was to change the culture of innovation. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of initiatives. It's not generally welcome. But on the whole, if you've got a technology company, people love new stuff. People love cool challenges. It's about how you pitch it to them, and it's about how you engage with them, involve them, and empower them to take actions based on this. So the first thing you do is you get the whole world, your world, to engage on solving a problem and building a solution. And then you empower them to be able to, I mean, if I say, look, I can take you out of work for 4 months to build this into a business, and if you want, you can spin it out. That's quite compelling. That's pretty cool. So that's exciting, the organization. It's, I mean, what are they? I think it's a hell of a lot of inspiring, repeating the messages, fantastic, top-level support. The CEO hired me, so he gave me a mission. That means he covered me every time I screwed everything up. And we just went and we drove the mission. But the company wanted to change and was ready to change. And I think that made it phenomenally, was considerably easier for us.
Perfect. Thank you. We have another question back there. Hold on, let me get you the cube here. I'll toss it to you. There you go.
Thank you. It was really inspirational, your vision of the future world with no nutrition problems or less nutrition problems. If you see the European Union and other governments making more and more regulations, and trade is not getting easier in the years, especially with some interesting leaders in the free world. What would be your advice for those governments? What could they make better?
Look, the role of government is to enable entrepreneurship with good values, with guidelines that ensure that we have free trade. The role of the universities is to create the thought leadership, the talent, and the technologies, and the solutions for the future. And the role of industry is to make it all happen. Okay? So I think everyone has a clear role. Governments shouldn't get out of the way, they should referee.
Perfect. We have time for about 3 more questions, so just toss the cube forward. Yep.
Which you think are the 3 most important values that you should have in a successful company to face the future?
I don't know if it's the 3 most important, but I mean, you have to be credible. Credible means that you have to do what you say you will do. Otherwise, you have no trust. Otherwise, no one will believe you. I think you have to have a workforce that does the right thing. You know, I'm an engineer. I mean, look at what engineers have been covering up. Not so far from here. Engineers have been helping companies to lie. Don't tell me that engineers didn't know what they were doing. We need to put a workforce out that instinctively, without question, knows right from wrong, and you have to empower them to exercise that right in all your companies. And I think the third one, let's say, you've got to be curious. You've got to want to do good things. But this, I tell you, instinctively doing the right thing and not waiting to follow orders and not following processes, even if you know that it's detrimental. This is what we have to instill in our kids and in the students, because we've lost that focus.
Perfect. Thank you. Another question? I saw one a little further back. Do we have any more questions? Who likes chocolate? No. And there you go. No, perfect. Thank you very much for coming out here. And let me get you, we got a little something for you as well. Hold on. Oh, here we go. So this is to listen to customers, actually.
Very good.
So this is always good, and obviously the bag to carry it in. It doesn't scan rice, but maybe that's something we could build in the future.
And we can put a rice scanner into it.
That's cool.
Fine.
Perfect. Thank you very much for coming out. It was a great pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, please, round of applause. Thank you.